I enjoy walking and bike riding, but totally lack motivation and can come up with excuses really easily. I usually end up sitting on the lounge on my phone, or I find some small chores to do around the house. So, this is what one of our newer ladies actually just posted up. And I was thinking about what on earth goes through our mind when we have a fitness activity that we actually enjoy, and yet we still can make excuses not to do it and find that lack of motivation. Pretty interesting topic, right, Sal?
It is. It is. Motivation is such a tricky thing.
Oh, look, the first thing I'm going to say is it's complex. It is really complex.
Yes.
And we're going to have highs and lows when it comes to motivation. So it's not something that you want to rely on as far as, being consistent with an exercise routine. It's just not reliable in itself.
No.
And so, I wanted to firstly say to the lady who shared this with us, one of these excuses is pretty good, really. Because if you are doing some type of movement when you're actually doing those small chores around the house, it's way better than sitting on the couch on the phone. So the first thing is that you do really need to give yourself some credit for the fact that even though you didn't get out and ride your bike or go walking or whatever that activity is that you love and enjoy, what you did do is some type of movement anyway.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so the first thing that I started to think about was fatigue and stress, because that's really going to zap us, even if we do like doing some type of exercise. So, and I know for myself personally, I don't wake up every day going, yahoo, I'm about to exercise. It doesn't happen. There are days when I feel better than other days. But there are definitely days where I really do need to drag myself out of bed to actually do it. And when I think about it, those are the days when I haven't slept well, or when I'm dealing with some type of stress in my life. And so it really does play a big contributing factor in how I'm going to respond to those activities, those exercises or workout, whatever you want to call it, training program. And so I started to think about it. When I wake up like that, this is the time when we want to start to think about incorporating some R&R, so some rest and recovery type of techniques.
Yes.
So thinking about, what can I do that is going to help my stress levels? What is going to help me sleep better? And you've got all those standard things like meditation and deep breathing and going out for a leisurely stroll in the night air and, stretching and the likes. And I think they're all really, really good things to help lower those stress levels. And so one of the things that I would suggest in regards to this is, we're a fan of journaling, right? And so in your journal of a nighttime, rate your stress, or in the journal of the morning, rate your stress, depends on when you journal. Write down, I'm feeling like I'm a 2 today, I'm really good. And so, but when I'm a 7 as such, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit here and do some deep breathing. And when we focus on that deep breathing, we're actually not giving exercise a miss. We're actually doing some form of exercise, because if you think about it, when we're lifting weights, when we're exercising, we actually do need to focus on our breath. So it is part of the process.
And I think it's very important to be honest. You don't have to be superwoman. So if you are stressed, if you are emotional,
Yeah.
you don't have to be superwoman. You don't have to be getting it all done. So I think it's very important to be honest with yourself. You know what? I'm not coping. I'm not getting it done. This is how I feel today. You know, I'm definitely not a 2 today. I'm a 9. You
Yeah.
know, so I think it's very important to be honest with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you got anything you want to add in?
Not to that topic, no.
Okay.
Topic. Sorry, it is so nice out here.
Well, it looks lovely, I might say.
I'm just like
looking
enjoying the breeze, and I'm like, am I going to go to sleep in a minute?
Are you doing a deep breathing while we're actually doing
I
this?
am.
I'm sitting here looking at all the greenery. But I am actually enjoying your greenery and your trees. It would just be, I don't have a spot like that where I can sit outside and talk like this. So
No, you have the planes flying over.
yeah, that's exactly right. So I've got to stay inside where I don't have the noise. You know, the
Yes.
next thing that I thought about, Sal, was that we aim too high. You know, so we
Yeah.
go, okay, I'm going to do, 1 hour of this, and I'm going to do something else and something else and something else, and it's just all too much. So even though those activities that I'm going to be doing, I'm just setting the bar far too high for myself, and I'm just setting myself up for failure. So therefore, I'm just going to go, no, don't feel like it. It's much easier for
Yeah.
me to sit here and do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially if you haven't been working out for a little while, and in your mind you are back 10 years ago when you used to do something,
Yeah.
and you did it great, and then you've just started back doing it, and you're going, oh well, this is a lot harder than what I thought it would be. Oh, I can't be bothered. Example, I work with my client Shane, and we're back together this week. So I said to him, you know what? Every workout he's on the treadmill, first thing he does, 30 minutes walking on the treadmill. So I said to him, while you're on the treadmill, I'm going to go and do something. So this week it's the rowing machine for me. So 10, 15 years ago, I would row on, resistance 10, and I'd race myself. How far can I get in 10 minutes, whatever. And so this morning I got on it, and it was only 10 minutes that I was doing. I only had a resistance of 5. And I went fast enough that I was puffing, but I could still hold a conversation. But I got off that rower. It was only 10 minutes. I got off that rower, and I was bloody proud of myself.
Love it.
Love it. So now, because I haven't put that pressure on me to be, a resistance of 10 and go, 60 Ks an hour type thing, I'm looking forward to doing it again tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, Sal, it's really important to highlight at this point as well, too, that 30 minutes for Shane on that treadmill, he has Parkinson's. So it's really important for his mobility. So, when you're actually putting something together, or I'm putting something together for our PT clients, it's based on what their needs are as well, too. So it's not a one size fits all. We're not suggesting that everybody gets out there and does 30 minutes on a treadmill as such, or like in your example, 10 minutes on a rowing machine. It could be something very, very different for you depending on where you're at as well too.
Yeah. And this is the thing you have to remember, and this is, I think, very important. This is a side note, very important when you're picking a trainer or someone to be accountable to, or a PT session, that they are listening to you and they are programming for you and for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with all of my PT clients, it takes me a lot of time because I'm in one session, I'm watching, and then when they're in the group sessions, I'm then watching them in the group sessions as well too. And I'm going, okay, hang on a minute, we need to get back to basics here. We need to start focusing on core, or we need to focus on improving their strength in their hands, because they are really limited for what they can do if they're down on the ground. So yeah, it is very, very important that your trainer is listening to you and watching you and seeing what you need as well too. Because sometimes
Yes.
you don't know what you need either.
No, that's correct. And
Mm.
the other thing to remember too is if you have a trainer or if you have somebody that you're accountable to, they're going to notice that motivation not being there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. They'll
And
notice a change in you.
yeah, and the other thing that we notice is that, you know, we'll reach out to you and we know that what you're going to do is you're going to start avoiding us. And once you start
Yes.
avoiding us, we know that you're on that decline, that slippery slope. You're on your way out the door type of thing, because
Yes.
um, you've got to that stage where you're beating yourself up about not doing it. And so now you're embarrassed about it. And so you therefore think, oh, they're judging.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not. We're just reaching out to go, come on, let's restart. And if we're
Yeah.
restarting at the beginning, we're restarting at the beginning. It doesn't matter.
No. And, you know, any trainer has lost
Who's worked
motivation.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has
Yeah.
lost motivation. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think back to that note where we're talking about setting that bar, that bar too high. You know, it is about adjusting your expectations,
Yes.
because, you know, where you are in your, in my case, 60s, where I'm in my 60s, is not necessarily where I was in my 20s or my 40s.
No.
I've got to be
No.
realistic about that as well too.
Yes.
You know, so
Yeah.
the other thing that I thought about, you know, why we might not get out there and do our exercise, and particularly those things that we love and enjoy, is because, and we may not even know this one, is that we've got some type of routine burnout, if I want to call it something. So
Yeah.
what we're actually, we are, let's say, bored with what we're doing. So we've just got into the grind of doing it, you know, and even though we like it, it's not challenging ourselves, and it's not, you know, helping us grow and do something different. And so that boredom factor may have come in, and it may be a reason that we're not so motivated to actually go and do that thing.
Go and do it. Exactly. You know, you think about walking,
Yes.
and the questions you'd be asking yourself is, okay, how long have I been walking the same route for?
Mm.
Has it been 10 years?
Yes.
Have you been walking, like the distance that you're walking, is it just 30 minutes for those past 10 years? Of
Yeah.
course you're going to get bored.
Yeah,
You know,
that's right.
change it up. And realistically, we know as trainers, with strength training, you're changing your strength training up every 6 to 8 weeks.
Yes.
So you need to change that walking up every 6 to 8 weeks to keep you engaged.
Yeah. Look. And walking is the default. It's the go-to exercise. It's because it doesn't have any barriers associated with it, because we do know how to do it. And so that's why we tend to gravitate to that. But it isn't the thing that is going to keep you strong. It's not going to keep you, you know, it will keep you semi-fit depending on what you're doing. And that comes back to what you're talking about there, Sel, is, you know, are you going the same way? Are you, you know, tracking how many steps am I doing? How much time am I doing it in? What do I need to do to continue to improve in this area? And most of us don't do that, because it is the activity that we know how to do. So we're just getting out there and we're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I think about, and I put this out there as a goal for 2024, and I often have like very obscure things. I taught myself how to to run 1 year, and it was like, nah, this isn't the thing for me. So I did it. I did it the whole entire year because that was the goal, and I just went, no, I don't aspire to run a marathon. It's just not my thing. But this year's goal, and you asked me this question yesterday. Yeah. So it was like, I decided that I'm going to do fast walking, so race walking. So I'm learning all the techniques associated with race walking. There's a lot of techniques that go with that. What I have noticed is, and there's actually some stuff that I've read about it, is you can get your heart rate up higher than you can if you're running when you're doing race walking. And I went, this is good, because it's one of the things that I know that as you get fitter, you don't get your heart rate up as much because you are fitter. So you've got to push it harder and push it harder. So I'm always looking for what's something different that I can do that is going to get me out of my comfort zone and going to challenge me. It's going to break the boredom as well too.
And it's interesting that we're talking about that race walking, because I asked you that yesterday, and your part of your reply to me was the weather was having an impact.
Oh, huge.
And over the past 2 weeks, our weather has just been,
it's terrible,
just all over the place.
Humidity,
personalities of the so that can have a huge impact on your motivation to keep going with your goal. What's the point? Oh, well, I might as well start in autumn because it's going to be cooler and it's not going to be raining as much. So that can have a huge impact on your motivation as well when there's those outside factors. Nothing that you can control, those outside factors are having a hit on your goal.
Yeah, that's right. And also, again, come back down to those setting realistic expectations and goals as well too with it. So I'm not going to go out and do it every day, So I'm just focusing on doing it 3 times a week. I'm including it in the walk that I'm already doing, and I'm not doing it for the whole walk. I'm just working my way up to it, so that I can do a couple of kilometers. That's the first goal, and then I'm going to move up from there. So off I go on my race walk. If you're actually not listening, if you're listening to this and not watching, I actually just did my little arms there. All right. So the other thing is that why you may lack motivation when you love these particular exercise programs that you've got is that the timing's not right. So, you may have been doing it in the morning, but now your mornings have changed. So you've got to find some way of including it in some other time during the course of the day. So it's about establishing a new routine for yourself when it comes to time.
Yes. And that could impede on something else that's happened, something else that goes on with your day, So if mornings have changed for you, it could then be, okay, well, I need to do the afternoon, but then you've got people saying to you, well, you can't do the afternoon because the afternoon you have to be doing this type of thing.
Yeah.
But, and this is where you have to set your boundaries.
Yeah. I think the other important aspect of it, Sal, is identifying barriers as well too. So, these are the excuses. The motivation is the bucket that we drop everything into, but what's the real reason? What are these barriers that I'm facing that are stopping me from doing it? Is it me?
Yeah.
And if it is me, which it generally is me, how do I actually just get out of my head and stop making the excuses? And that is about taking action.
It is. And I think too, when you ask those questions, I think the answer to that question is another question, and that question is, but why?
Oh, yes, the but whys. Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because you really want the but why 5 times.
Yes.
So when you give the excuse, you then ask yourself, but why? And then you'll delve into it a bit more. And then you ask, but why again? And then you'll delve in. And so after you get to about 5, you'll usually uncover the real reason for what is going on, why you're giving yourself those excuses.
And that answer, I will hazard a guess, would be, I don't want to.
Mm. And so then, but why?
Yeah. But why don't you want to? So you start your 5 over again.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, exactly. The other thing is, I really think it's important to just, rather than looking at the external goals, so I am going to go back to those goals that I was talking about and expectations, rather than the external stuff, get internal about it. And I just did a huge live in our free group, Women Over 50 Get Active and Healthy, on this. And so on the day before New Year's, I jumped on and I wanted to talk about reflection and actually being more self-aware. So I came up with 15 questions that I like to ask myself at the end of each year, and really delve into understanding, what did I do well, what can I learn from, what barriers did I have up there. And I think when I can do that, or when I do that, I'm then more connected to it. And that's what happens when these goals are more internally driven than externally driven. So one of the things, Sal, like, we've got lots of ladies coming into our group at the moment, and every second one is, I don't have the motivation, and the other one is, I want to lose weight. Okay, and it's like, well, okay, you want to lose weight. How much weight do you want to lose? What are you currently doing? What does that look like? The list goes on and on and on. So rather than going and saying that, and I gave some reasons or some ideas about this, rather than saying, I want to lose weight, why don't we set a goal that says, for this month, I'm going to focus on actually drinking enough water for my body.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay hydrated. And then the month after, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on getting enough protein for my body. So you can see where the goal now is more an action that I'm going to do, as opposed to that I'm just focusing on the weight.
Yes. Because at the end of the year, at the end of that 12 months, you will more than likely have lost weight.
Yes.
Because you have you've focused on one thing in January, which is your water. You've focused on that. So by February, it's a habit. You're not going to give that up while you're then focusing on your protein.
Yeah.
So by March, you've got the water, you've got the protein, you're focusing, it could be your exercise. So now you've got your exercise in there. And we know exercise and eating bounce off each other. So if you're starting to exercise, you're going to start to eat properly, or eat better, I should say. I shouldn't say properly, eat better. If you're eating better, you're going to start wanting to exercise because you're going to have more energy to get rid of.
I want to wrap it up with mixing it up, because quite frankly, if we're doing that same thing, and it comes back to that boredom thing, if I'm doing the same thing day in, day out, like outside walking, I am going to get bored. So how am I going to mix it up? How am I going to do things differently? So as you know, I'm a Zumba instructor.
Yeah.
Well, I got lots of certifications, and I haven't done Zumba for so long. And the other day, it was just bucketing down here. And like, I don't mind walking in the rain, but it was a little bit too much. And there was a storm and lightning and all that type of stuff. And I went, no, that's just dangerous. That's just sheer stupidity if I go out there now.
Yes.
So what am I going to do to actually, get myself moving, because I do like to move first thing in the morning. And so I went, you know what? I'm going to get those Zumba DVDs out and whack them on, and I'm going to do some movements. And it was really interesting. A 30-minute Zumba session. I got about 3,000 steps out. That was it. And it was like, okay, this is really interesting to see that.
Yeah.
Because if I am focused on steps, and this only equates to this many steps, what else do I need to do in order to get myself there?
Yeah.
Do you have any other tip that you want to add when it comes to, thinking about those activities that you love, that the motivation gets the better of you?
Yes. My final tip or advice is to focus on that feeling after your workout.
Oh, yes.
So even if you're not motivated today to do it, and you're sitting there and you're going, oh, I just don't want to do it today, think about how you felt after your activity yesterday or the day before or last week. How did you feel afterwards?
Yes.
Because often we focus on how we're feeling beforehand, but we need to channel that feeling afterwards, because you feel good, you feel accomplished, you feel proud, you've done something, you've got a smile on your face, you've got a spring in your step, and it doesn't matter what you do, you've got a spring in your step because you're proud of what you've just done. So I think it's very important to channel that part as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing is just do it, as Nike would say.
Yeah.
Just take some form of action, and it doesn't matter what it is. Just do something and celebrate the fact that you did it.
Yes.
And the next part of it is stop making your excuses. And if you are making the excuses, then challenge yourself. Why am I making this excuse? And really start to delve into it, because let's face it, ultimately how I live my life, how you live your life, and everybody else, is up to us. It's not up to somebody else. We need to do it. Yes, having support and accountability is important for most of us, but it's this person who I am who needs to step up and say, I'm going to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me, Sal.
Thanks for having me, as always.
We hope you got something out of today, ladies. We hope that you found that magical, mystical unicorn called motivation today, or at a very minimum, that what you have done is questioned the excuses that you tell yourself and go, okay, yeah, I'm going to delve into that a little bit more. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you all soon. Bye, Sal. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.